Hey guys, today I'm going to be going over how to make a virtual machine using VirtualBox. This will be useful for Virginia Tech computer science classes 2505 and also 2506 if you need a refresher and to do it a second time or something. So yeah, let's get started. First, you're going to have to go to the VirtualBox website if you don't already have VirtualBox installed. Any of these will do for the correct host. And then also you're going to want to install the VirtualBox extension pack. Yeah, just click this. It'll automatically start installing, run that, and it'll install into VirtualBox. Second thing you're going to need to install is CentOS 7. So first off, you have to make sure that when you're going to install this, you do this one and not this one, because if you do this one, when you go to this and then you go here, you're going to be getting the most recent CentOS, which is CentOS 8. And I just took the class in spring 2020, so they required CentOS 7 because they could 100% guarantee CentOS 7 was going to run because that's what they were using to run their code. So I feel like it won't change anytime soon. Could be wrong, but as of this video, I'm going to be going over installing CentOS 7. You go to that download link, which will take you here, and you can get CentOS 7 here. You're going to click on mirrors, which will bring you up to your the mirrors, and you get your ISO image. I always click the first one, and then yeah, you get your ISO right here. So yeah, I usually do the DVD. Lets you choose. I'm comfortable with it. So the one I'm doing, I installed this right here, this one. All right. Anyway, let's get into it. So I already have that installed, and I already have VirtualBox. So let's open that up. Here it is. So I'm going to be going over how to make a new virtual machine where I name it CentOS. It's important because that's not really that important, but they'll already know that this is Linux and Red Hat. And then I usually give it about 2 gig of RAM. You can always change it later if you feel like you need more or less. I have 16 gigs, so it's about not too much. It's not too much. So yeah, we're gonna want to create a virtual hard disk now. It's gonna be a VDI. We're gonna be doing a fixed size. We're gonna do fixed over dynamic because we're trying to get the best performance out of this. I do about 30 gig. You're gonna have about roughly a little over 20 gig left over after the installation because we're installing CentOS onto this virtual disk. So it's not going to be the full 30. You need to make some room for the actual operating system and all that. It takes a little bit. I mean, the more you allocate for this hard disk, the longer it's going to take. 30 gig, yeah, it's going to take like 40 seconds. If you do more than that, the longer it is. And if you're thinking about doing a dynamically allocated one, then just know that you're sacrificing performance from your machine. And really, for this class, when all you're doing is making a few programs, nothing too heavy, you don't need that much extra data. Like 20 is plenty. So I mean, it might be a little safer, but if you're that stressed, I don't think it's that big a deal. I rather have that smoothness and performance while I'm using it, because you're going to spend a lot of time using this virtual machine, rather than, not having to worry about a little extra data or whatever. Alright, looks like it's almost done. After this, I'm going to be going over the correct settings. There it is. Cool. So that's all done. We're going to go to our settings. So first thing, you go to advanced, you want to have your shared clipboard be bidirectional, which means you can, copy paste from host to guest or guest to host. Drag and drop, drag files from host to guest or guest to host. System, so we already messed with all this. I usually give it 2 processors, 2 out of my 8. You can always change that. Hardware virtualization is checked. That's fine. Display, we want to definitely enable 3D acceleration. This will make it run a lot smoother. And if you give it more video memory, it'll run smoother. Just like you're probably already aware, but what you're using for your display is, you can't use that for your, host. So if you use all of your hard drive on your guest, and you have nothing to use on your host. So just be aware, only give it what you need it, because you might need to use that later. You probably will. But like video memory, I don't know what you're going to be doing while you're using your virtual machine, but you probably don't need, a whole lot. So yeah, we're going to have to add our CentOS 7 disk, our ISO disk. Should be already there. If not, choose disk file. Just have to select it from right here. Pretty simple. Everything else, just normal stuff. Shared folder. You definitely are gonna need this. It's gonna make your life easier. So this is folder path. Is asking about your host folder path, so your Windows machine. And I usually just, use a school folder, but for right now, I have one on my desktop called shared folder. And yeah, that should be good. So now we can start it up. And off the bat, it's going to, still tell you to select something. So look, this is cool. So I can show you. It's asking you to select a virtual optical disk or disk file or physical optical drive containing a disk to start your new virtual machine from. So that's the ISO we installed, not VBox guest edition. So we need to make sure that this is selected. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. All right, and here it's starting up. We can do test this media and install CentOS 7. And this is going to take a couple minutes. I'll probably be skipping these long waits, so you guys don't have to listen to me ramble. Alright, looks like the installer is almost loaded. So, if you guys don't know, when you click on the screen, to go to use the virtual machine, then in order to get out of that, you have to click the host key, which is in this case, the default case, the right control button. I click that, I can use my mouse again. So click it, I'm in, right control, I'm out. Alright, so we're obviously doing English. This will take a second. This could be a little laggy here while everything gets loaded up. Gotta just wait a little bit. We're trying to get down to here to click on this, but I gotta wait for it to load. There it goes. Alright, so this is checked, which is where we're going to be installing our ISO data to get the operating system. So everything good here. Automatically configure partitioning. Yeah, that's great. So we're done. And next thing I would recommend is, instead of a minimal install, you're going to want GNOME, because a minimal install, that's going to be like no GUI. So you're literally only a terminal if you do that. Virginia Tech, at least the class I took, recommended using GNOME desktop, which, it's fine. I like KDE, but for this video, I'll show GNOME. You don't really need any of this stuff, but I would recommend like system admin tools, development tools. We're developers, that's what we do. But we don't need like previous versions of CentOS or security tools or anything like that, so we're good to go. That's gonna take a second to load our requirements. And then after that, actually see if I can do this. Yeah. So this is how the Wi-Fi works. It says Ethernet, but really it's just connected to your computer's Wi-Fi. So you don't actually need Ethernet, you just need Wi-Fi. So yeah, just turn that on. And honestly, you don't even really need to use Wi-Fi with this, because the only thing you need it for is if you want to install stuff off the terminal. Because using a browser is almost impossible because it's so slow, at least in my experience. All right, we're ready to install. So this is the part that's going to take the longest. We're just, for me, I'm not doing a root password. It'll say it's required, but it's really not, because we can just go here. My name is Jake. And we don't want a password. We just don't want a password. So that's fine. But yeah, I'm going to be skipping forward here to the next part when we do the reboot. Okay, so it looks like our reboot is ready to go, and I accidentally forgot to record my voice for this part, so I am re-recording my voice over this, and I'm going to try and follow along with what I do on the video. So right now I'm just rebooting. I'm going into the storage to make sure that we don't have our CentOS ISO still loaded up here. If it was, then on the reboot, we're just going to load back into that installation, which is going to just be useless and redo everything we just did. So don't freak out if it is doing that. You can just go in there, remove the ISO, and then it should start up normally like it is now. Yeah, so we have to accept the licensing information, and our Wi-Fi should already be set up from the previous setup. So we're just loading everything up here. No password, so just click on the username and we're good to go. Okay, so we're loaded up here. First thing that we have here is we've got to select our languages again for some reason. I usually turn privacy off, or I want privacy, so I turn that off, and just skip this. It's like already really hard to load internet anyway, so no point really in doing that. We have our file system here with everything, but you're gonna be using the terminal for most of this stuff, so you're never really gonna use any of it. Okay, so we're going to be trying to get our extension pack installed here. So we're going to devices, insert guest additions, and we're going to automatically be prompted with this saying, would you like to run the virtual guest additions ISO? And you just click yes, and then this pops up. This takes a good 5 to 10 minutes to run, so I'm just going to skip forward here. At this point, I realized that my mic was off and turned it back on, so you'll be hearing the original audio from this point forward. You know, sometimes, let's see if I can minimize this. Go to home. Yeah, right here. Sometimes it won't automatically run the software. When that happens, you just have to run this as an administrator. Let's see. Yeah, auto run.sh. When you run that, an administrative privilege dialog box will ask you for a password. It's that simple. So you just do this auto run. It'll do the exact same thing that's happening right here. And as you can see, it's done because we have this press return, press enter. And so now we can see we have mouse pointer integration. That's great. So the next step is we need this auto resize guest display. This is what makes it look big and stuff, and like a regular display. So you just have to restart to do that. You can do that right here, and we'll just install some updates while we're at it. All right, everything is starting up now. Great, here we go. So notice we have the integration, and we should, yep, we have auto resized guest display. This is the key. And after this loads, it should do its thing. Hopefully. We might have to click it again. Let's try it again. There we go. Yeah, just took a second to load.